Masuda, you've never met Rita Lasar before. You've just come back from Afghanistan, where Rita is headed to right now. You've had a week of reflection, and you've come back, well, to ground zero. You left from ground zero, and you've come back. What are your thoughts now? And if you could talk about how it was for you to meet with your family members.
First of all, I want to express my condolences to Rita. I did before, but I think your brother is a hero, and you're a hero for continuing his legacy. And it's amazing to me that someone who's lost so much isn't as revenge hungry as some of the other people that seem to want to, go start bombing, whoever, wherever, and a lot of this is about revenge, I feel, because especially having seen the faces of the people there and realizing that these are the farthest things from the enemy that, we could find. Granted, the American bombing campaign has been, I think, even with the death toll in my extended family and some of the other cases, I don't think that the U.S. government intended to bomb, to carpet bomb the area. But I'm still trying to figure out what's going on. On the one hand, I think the United States government didn't intend to do some of this. On the other hand, I can't believe they did it, and who would make such a stupid mistake. And to be honest, I'm still a little confused about things.
Your family left an area in Kandahar, where you come from, and actually took refuge in a farmhouse so that they would not be bombed.
It's the irony is the saddest part of all of this. In Kandahar, they lived right next to Taliban-controlled buildings, and they knew, they anticipated that the United States was going to bomb those types of areas. So they left the city and fled to really a desert. We took that same trip, and it was about an hour and a half to 2 hours outside of the city of Kandahar, and it was literally the middle of nowhere. We actually got lost getting out, and it took us about 3 hours to find our way back to the main road. The irony is that they left that area thinking they would be safe in this desert because there's no Taliban there. And ironically, that's where they were hit.
When you went to the Marine base in Kandahar and asked them why they bombed your family, what was the response?
The Marine that I spoke to told me that they hadn't, that particular group, the Marines, had only been in Kandahar airport after the incident, so he didn't have information for me. He told me that I should speak to the State Department. Privately, some of the Marines did express their condolences, and what shocked me was what I sensed coming from them was a sort of confusion about why they were there. I asked one of them why they were in Kandahar, I think, which is a valid question. Why are you willing to risk your life here? And he said, we're here to oust the Taliban. And I looked at him and said, but the Taliban have been in power since 1996. Is that, do you feel comfortable being here to oust the Taliban? Doesn't it sound kind of odd? And he really couldn't answer my question, and I could sense the discomfort he felt. And it's scary that there are people that will fight, in the name of something they don't really understand. I love the United States. I grew up here. I came here at the age of 5, and I feel, as American as anyone else. But, and I would fight for my country gladly. But I don't know if the mission is really clear and if the intent is honorable.
Masuda, after the World Trade Center attacks and occurred on September 11th, and then all of the information or non-information started to come out, and it became clear that the U.S. was making Afghanistan a target. What were your feelings at the time?
When September 11th happened and I watched those buildings collapse, and I thought about all those people in there, like Rita's brother, I was angry. I was angry just as any New Yorker, and my immediate feeling was, who are the jerks that did this, and what are we going to do about it? And I went down there that first week and actually got through some police barricades and watched what was going on, and volunteered for a few hours. But my immediate reaction was anger and shock. But that same day, I sensed that something like this was not going to go unpunished. I mean, I would want to figure out who did it too. I realized that Osama was probably in some way responsible, and that the United States was probably, going to do something about that. And guess what? Osama's in Afghanistan. And that day, I started making phone calls on September 11th to family here in New York to tell them to also call some family back in Afghanistan to sort of alert people to the fact that this may happen. And some of them didn't think that it would go that far, and they said, "Oh, you're being, you're being too cautious." And as as time and the events sort of unfolded, that's exactly what happened. And something like this probably shouldn't go unpunished, but who do we punish is really the question, and how do we punish them? And I don't think that what the United States is doing in Afghanistan is really what they set out to do. In the beginning, I was actually hoping that if they got the perpetrators in Afghanistan, that the people of Afghanistan would finally be freed. They were also held hostage by the Taliban and Al-Qaeda for the last number of years. They suffered at the hands of these people, and now, again, are suffering at the hands of these people who have come and essentially, in my view, Al-Qaeda has invaded Afghanistan, has taken control, and is now using it as their war zone. And again, it's sort of what happened when the Soviets invaded, and it was the proxy war. I mean,
and your family members are not alive to enjoy the freedom, if there will be.
Some of them have survived. It was really difficult to. I was asked by a lot of people there, both my family and other people that had lost possessions and people in some of the bombings, what the United States was going to do about it. And I thought about, how September 11th funds were everywhere and how great that was and how much the American people opened their hearts to the victims of September 11th. And then I thought about, and the United States government as well. And then I thought about, what about these people who, for some reason or other got caught in the middle of all of this, lost lives, lost children, lost property? Who do they ask, for help? Who do they turn to?
Well, it seems like Rita Lasar has taken up that banner with a few other people. Unfortunately, your message doesn't get out very much in the mainstream media. The stories of people like your brother, heroes at the World Trade Center, are heard. But when you then take the next step and say, though you do not think that war is the answer, that's not the part of the story that we hear. A New York Times photograph showed people who walked from Washington to New York saying not in our name. And the photograph just said people who were mourning their loved ones at the World Trade Center and Pentagon.
We're hoping by going to Afghanistan, members who have lost their loved ones, and showing that we understand that the people in Afghanistan, as well as we, are mourning and hurting and are innocent, just as my brother and I are innocent. We're hoping that this will get more coverage than it has. And we're hoping that, just as Masuda said, the September 11th Fund was a generous, more than generous, acknowledgement of our loss, that there will be an equal Afghanistan fund from the American people and from our government to help those people.
Rita Lasar and Masuda Sultan. Rita lost her brother Abe Zelmanowitz in the World Trade Center attacks on September 11th, 2001. Soon after, Masuda Sultan would lose 19 members of her family in the U.S. attacks on Afghanistan. Rita Lasar and Masuda Sultan appeared on Democracy Now! January 8th, 2002, in the studios of Democracy Now! In the garret of a 100-year-old firehouse just blocks from Ground Zero. To see our full coverage of the last 10 years of the 9/11 attacks and its aftermath, you can see our multimedia timeline at democracynow.org.